Yeah, hello. You are welcome to the Java Guide, and so this is going to be a tutorial on a continuation of OOP or object-oriented programming, which I have started. I started with composition. I've also done a previous tutorial on inheritance. So today I'm going to be taking a look at abstraction. So in addition to taking a look at abstraction, we are also going to do a modeling of this payroll system. So here you have an employee class, which is top of the hierarchy. And then all of these other guys here are actually employees as well. So we are going to be taking a look at how we can model this kind of this payroll application using the object-oriented programming techniques that we have learned. So here we are going to be making use of encapsulation. We are going to be making use of inheritance. We are going to learn interface, and then we are going to learn abstraction. So this is where we are. So we are basically going to be taking off from abstraction. So yeah, before going into the nitty gritty of these stuffs, so if you find that you are benefiting from these tutorials, so please smash the like button. Also endeavor to subscribe. So just to indicate that you guys are there and then you guys are also following. So yeah, so I believe we can get started. So so we are starting with abstraction. So, as the name implies, when you abstract something, it basically means that you are hiding something, right? You are hiding something while exposing something else. So, basically, that's what abstraction is. So, abstraction basically means it involves hiding the implementation details of an object while exposing only the functionality. Okay, so basically there are some kinds of methods that can be created which will only expose what those kind of methods will just tell you what the method can do, but then the implementation of those methods are actually hidden in another class. So this abstraction in Java can be implemented or can be achieved via two means. It can be achieved via abstract classes, or it can be achieved via interfaces. So when we say abstract class, so an abstract class is basically an is a class that is created with the intention of not creating objects or instantiating objects from them. So they are just meant to serve as super classes. They are going to be containing some common instance variables and then common methods, which will then be inherited by the subclasses. So basically, that's what an abstract class is. So another point to take note of in an abstract class is that an abstract class basically has the abstract keyword in its declaration. So when you have something like public class employee, so for the abstract class, you are going to have public abstract employee, as you would see later on. So another point to take note of when dealing with abstract in abstraction is that abstract classes cannot be used to instantiate objects. So the moment you actually denote that a class is abstract, it means that class can never be used to instantiate an object. Another point to take note of is that concrete classes are the direct opposite of abstract classes. So concrete classes are those classes that can be used to create objects, as we have been exposed to those in the previous tutorials that I've created as well. So concrete classes they are opposite of abstract class. So once you understand that abstract classes cannot be used to instantiate objects, then the opposite are concrete classes, which will then be used to create objects. So another point to take note is that abstract classes are incomplete. So it is due to that incomplete nature that we cannot create objects from them. So abstract classes must then be completed by their concrete subclasses. So the subclass that extends these abstract classes are the ones that would complete the abstract classes. So they would complete them by implementing the abstract methods that are contained in the abstract class. So take note again that an abstract class would also contain, so in the next point I mentioned there, an abstract class will contain at least one abstract method. Okay? So another point to take note here is that abstract methods have no implementation. So an abstract method actually contains the abstract keyword. Then is another point to take note regarding abstract method is that they have no implementation. They only have the method body without an implementation. So another point to take note of is that constructors and static methods cannot be abstract. Okay, so when you have a static method, so such a static method cannot be declared as abstract. Okay, so another point to take note of here is that subclasses must override all abstract methods in the superclass they extend. So when you have your subclass that is inheriting a superclass, so the subclass must override all the abstract methods in the superclass. So when we say method overriding, so I think I should mention this here. So method overriding involves two different methods that have the same names and then they have the same method signatures. So the what just differentiates them is that they have different implementations. So that's a method over. We are going to be taking a look at that shortly too. Okay. So another point to take note of is that when a method is declared as final, so such a method cannot be overridden, meaning that you cannot inherit a final method. Okay. So another point to take note of here is that a private methods are implicitly final. Don't forget that when you declare either a variable or a method as private, what it implies is that it can only be accessed from inside that particular class that you've created it. So if it can only be accessed from inside that class that it was created, it means that you cannot override it. You cannot inherit it from another class. Okay. So another point to also take note of is that static methods are implicitly final. So meaning that you cannot also inherit static methods. So once you denote a particular method as static, it implies that you cannot inherit such a method. Okay. So another point to take note of here is that calls to final methods are resolved at compile time. Okay, compile time here is basically once you finished writing your code, so the code compiles instantly. That's compile time. So and then run time is when you actually make an attempt to run that particular application. So that's run time. So compile time is you've written your code, then the code actually compiles the code, it scans for any syntax errors and so on like that. So the calls to final methods are resolved at compile time. Okay, so another point to take note of here is that final classes cannot be super classes. So any class that is declared as final cannot be inherited. Okay, so also as a matter of principle, you do not call overridable methods from constructors. This can lead to some unpredictability in the results you are going to be getting. Okay, so after explaining some of these few points. So I would like us to take a look at this diagram here. So these employees here is going to be our abstract class. Okay, what this guy is going to contain is going to contain some instance variables as well as some methods that can be common to these other employees. So for example, every employee has a first name, every employee has a last name, every employee has probably an identity number that uniquely identifies them. So basically, this employee class would be the one to declare all of those attributes and then the common methods in them as well. So it means that all of these guys would inherit all the instance variables in this guy. They would also provide their specific implementations for the abstract method in this particular class. So likewise, so this base plus commission employee is going to be inheriting this guy directly. So it's an indirect superclass of the employee. So if you look at the hierarchy, base plus commission employee is a commission employee, while the commission employee is directly an employee. So basically, this is what we are going to implement right away. So to get started, so I will just delete all of these files that I've used in a previous tutorial, and then I'm just going to create something fresh. Okay. Sorry, I need to delete these guys again. Oh, okay. In that case, I guess okay. I think it's deleted already. So the first thing I need to do is I need to create an employee class based on that diagram we have here. Okay. So the employee class. So I'm going to declare it as abstract. So to declare a class as abstract, you just add the abstract keyword here, and then you are good to go. So this class becomes abstract automatically. So then I'll just proceed to add my instance variables. So private string, first name, okay, private string, last name, okay, then private string, I'll call it social security number. Okay, so these are all the instance variables that will be declared in this class. So the next thing I would want to do here is to create a constructor. So I'll just quickly write that code here, creating the constructor public employee, public employee is this particular guy. Okay, then inside there I'll just have my variables. Okay, so yeah, I'll just do this dot first name equals first name, this dot last name equals last name, and then this dot social security number equals social security number. So with this, I have my constructor ready. Okay, then the next thing I would want is to create getters and setters. So instead of typing all of that code, I would just generate that code. Since I'm using a Mac, I would use Command N to generate my getters and setters. I'll select all the necessary instance variables. So and then like that, I'm able to generate my getters and setters. So you can see the get first name, you can see the set first name, you can see get last name, set last name, get social security number, and this one. Okay. So one more thing I would like to also generate is the toString method here. Okay. So I'd want to generate the toString method. So the toString method here enables you to actually print your objects easily. So inside this toString method, I'm just going to make some few changes. So instead of using returning the instance variables here, I'm going to be returning the get methods. So I'll replace this first name with what? Get first name. I'll replace last name with get last name, and then I'll replace social security number with get social security number. So yes, with this, so you can see that these are all the necessary methods I need here. So one more thing I need to add here is every employee would have its own earnings, right? So because I'm going to be based on this diagram here, I'm going to be having several employees, and then the way their earnings will be calculated or be evaluated that will be different. So what I would just do here is I would now add an abstract method. So the way to add an abstract method is this. An abstract method has to be public, by the way. Public abstract, then double earnings. Okay. So with this, I would yeah. So with this, I've created an abstract method. So you can see that this method here, it only tells you that it calculates earnings, but how to calculate it, it doesn't do that. So this would now be it would be this implementation for this method would now be specified in the concrete subclasses that would inherit from this particular from this particular class. So just to summarize, we've created an abstract class by using the abstract keyword here. I've added some instance variables which are going to be shared across all the other kinds of employees here. Okay. I've also added a constructor. I've also added getter and setter methods. I've added a toString method, okay, that uses my accessor methods, the getter methods, and then I've also added an abstract method which has not yet been implemented. So now the next thing I'm going to do based on this diagram is I'm just going to create a salaried employee class which is going to inherit from this employee. Okay, so here I will just okay, let me close every other tab, close other tabs. Okay, so here then the next thing I would want to do is now to create uh, so if you look at the diagram again, the next thing I need to create is a salaried employee. So the salaried employee probably gets his salaries weekly or he gets his pay monthly. So that's the salaried employee. So I'll just create a salaried employee class. Okay. So since he also has these same attributes, okay, it has these same attributes, so I will just extend this particular class. So that's basically the how to handle inheritance. It extends employee. Okay, so I think we are good now. So immediately after typing extends employee, you can see that it shows an error here. So the error states that okay, if I yeah, so it shows here an error on line 3, right? So class salaried employee must either be declared abstract or implement abstract method earnings in employee. So basically this like a practical explanation of one of the points mentioned here. So I think it's particular. Uh, okay, so but I think I've explained that. So once you inherit a once you inherit an abstract method like this, so you would most likely get an error like this. So to solve that error, you either name this class as abstract as well, okay, or you just implement the methods in it. And in this case, I'm just going to implement methods. So yeah, I'm going to implement the abstract method. So click OK. So I'll provide the implementation for this guy later. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So once this is done now, so what the next thing I just need to do here is so this particular salaried employee also contains one instance variable. So the instance variable is private double weekly salary. Okay. So this guy is giving us an error, right? So he's saying we need to, there's no default constructor available in this guy. So if you look at this error here, it says there's no default constructor available uh, in the employee class. So it means that I need to create a constructor here. So public salaried employee, okay, public salaried employee. So this salaried employee would contain this these same variables here. Don't forget that we are inheriting from it. So it's going to contain all of these guys. So I'll just copy them and then paste them in here. So in addition to these three guys, it's now also going to contain one more, which is the additional instance variable inside this class. So here I will just add double weekly salary. Okay. Now it gives us another error again. So it says there's no default constructor available in that. So to solve that, so the next thing I would want to do is I would call the super. So this super keyword is basically accessing the constructor from the super class, which is the employee class. So super. So inside the super, I'm saying that I'm going to provide the corresponding variables from here. So I'm going to provide okay, these three guys. So I'm going to write first name, last name, and then social security number. So basically, I'm saying that these three local variables here can be gotten from the constructor of the superclass, which is employee here. Okay, so with this, you can notice that I no longer have any error. Then you might be wondering, how about this last guy here? So it means I just need to access this current class. I will just use this dot weekly salary equals weekly salary. So with this, I'm done with this salaried constructor. Okay. Then the next point I would want to make use of this. So here you would notice that I no longer need to create set and getter methods for first name, last name, and social security number. Instead, I'm going to be inheriting this setter and getter methods from inside this employee. Okay, so and I can inherit them because they are all public, right? So if I make them private now, I can no longer inherit them. So but then since they are public, I can inherit. So I no longer need to declare these methods, this getter and setter method for first name, last name, and social security number. I no longer need to declare them here. So the only setter and getter method I need to declare is the setter and getter method for this particular instance variable. So I will just generate that right now as well. Getter and setter, then click OK. Okay. So yeah, with this, I think this is quite okay. Okay. So the earnings. So the earnings for a salaried employee is basically his weekly salary. That is what he earns. So inside here, the implementation inside this space is just going to be to return the get weekly salary. Okay. So you take note. This is where you override your abstract method, right? So this is the earnings method, which is declared as abstract here inside the employees class. Okay, is declared as abstract here. And then here I'm providing the implementation for that earnings method in this class. Okay, so here is you can see you have the override keyword here, and then you are basically providing the implementation. So it means the salaried employee, his earnings is basically going to be his weekly salary. Okay, so this actually, yeah, I think basically this is all that. Okay, before I say all, I need to also add a toString method here. So don't forget that I have a toString method inside here that actually returns first name, last name, and social security number. So I will just add my toString method. Okay, okay. So I've added the toString method. So one more thing that I just need to add here is I need to also add, uh, I will just add employee personal info. Okay, so I'll concatenate that, and then I will just call the toString method inside the superclass. Okay, so to call the toString method inside the superclass, I'll just use the super keyword and then what? Tostring. So you can see here that you have one override already. So I'm able to use this method from here. So I don't need to go and generate get names and so on. So but rather I'll just use this same method. I'm able to override it as well inside this particular guy. Okay. So I think we are fine with that now. Okay. So so from here I would move on to the next point in the diagram, which is the hourly employee. So the hourly employee, he basically has, okay, let me just create that guy first. So his salary is calculated based on the number of hours he works. So hourly employee. Okay, so and again, the hourly employee, he extends employee as well. Extends employee. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to implement the methods, this NS method, this abstract method in the abstract class. So once I implement that, okay, so I have this here. Then the next thing I need to do here is I need to add the specific instance variables that are specific to this class. So in this case, I need the wage. This is basic wage. Then I would add its private uh, double hours. That is the number of hours he worked. Okay. So then the next thing I would need to do is a constructor. Okay, it says there's no default constructor here. So here I will just do public hourly employee. So and then here I'm just going to call string. Okay, let me go back here and copy these three common guys again. Since they are common, I can just copy them across. Command C or Control C for Windows, then Command V. Yeah. So and then the next two things I need to add are the corresponding local variables to these two instance variables, the wage and then the double hours. Okay, so here, as a matter of fact, inside your subclass, the first statement that should be inside this constructor has to be super. Okay, that's the first thing. You have to make a call to the constructor in the super class. So you just put super and then you provide the needed attributes. Okay, so the first thing that has to be inside the constructor of the subclass is a call to the constructor of the superclass, which is this guy here, the employee. Okay, so after adding this, then I will just set these two guys. This dot wage equals wage. Okay, then this dot hours equals hours. So and then yes, I think I'm good now. Okay, yeah, this is quite so I think we are done with the constructor. So like I said, the first thing here has to be the super. So suppose I bring down this super. So suppose I remove it and then place it here, for example. So you see that I have an error, right? So it says call to the error is that the call to super must be first statement in the constructor body. So when you are dealing with inheritance, take note that when you are dealing with your constructor, you first need to make a call to the constructor of the superclass. So I will just return that, and then we are good. So the next thing that I need to add here are my getter and setter methods for the wage and hours. Okay, so I'll just auto generate that. Command N, select getter and setter, select the instance variables, and then good. So we have the getter for wage, we have the setter for wage, we have the getter for hours, then we have the setter for hours as well. So this yeah, so basically we have our setter and then the getter methods. Okay, so yeah, so here we now need, so you see that here as well, we are also overriding the earnings method, right? So in this place, we are also going to have a different implementation for this earnings method. Okay, so basically you can see that from this abstract class, you are only providing a method that says what to do, but how to actually do it is being specified inside the subclasses. So how to generate the earnings of the salaried employee, you can see that you just return the get weekly salary. So but for the hourly employee, so here there is a bit of a formula that we need to make use of. So so according to the according to the question, so if the employee has uh worked 40 hours or less, okay, so in this case we just do if hours less than or equal to 40, right? Okay, then in this case uh you return get hours times get wage. Okay, so if he works, for example, for 10 hours, right, and then his basic wage is just 4,000 naira, so it means his earnings is just going to be 4,000 naira times 10 hours, right? So that's for when he works for less than or equal to 40 hours. So as an incentive, if he works for more than 40 hours, right, so we want to uh okay, so if he works for less than 40 hours also, So here we'll just return a sort of complex formula. So you return 40. Okay, if you have worked for more than 40 hours, so you return 40 times uh, the get wage. Okay, so this is basically the for the 40 hours he has worked. This is actually the value of that, and then yeah, as a sort of bonus for him or as a sort of incentive, you are also doing you are trying to look at the overtime. That is the excess hours, the hours in excess of 40 that he worked for, which will be get hours minus what? 40. So if for example he worked for 50 hours, so he's going to get 40 times his basic wage plus 50 hours minus 40, which would be what? 10. Then you multiply this by his wage, okay, then times 1.5. Okay, so basically I have this formula from somewhere. So basically this is just an incentive for working overtime. So if you work more than 40 hours, this is going to be your wage. So you can see the implementation this particular guy's earnings. So you can see a single abstract method here, but several implementations. You have one implementation here, you have another implementation here. So to round up this hourly employee, I'm just going to add uh, one more thing, which is the toString method. So add the toString method. Okay. So you can see here that I'm going to let me check this guy again. So instead of weekly salary here, I'll just change it to get weekly salary. Okay, inside my toString method, I want to be using those accessor methods. So yeah, I'll change it to get wage. I'll change this to get hours as well. Okay, so once this is done, I would like to add this. I'll call this employee info. Okay, then I'll just make a call to the toString method in the super class that we are inheriting from. So and then yes, so we have this. So this will just show you the first name, the last name, and then the social security number of that particular employee. So we've basically done the hourly employee. So the next guy is according to this diagram, is the commission employee. So the commission employee is someone who earns based on the commission of what he sells. Okay, so let's add that particular guy. So I'll just add him as a commission employee. Okay, so commission employee would extend employee. Okay, so and then here I'll implement methods, the abstract methods in that class. Okay, then I'll add the instance variables that are specific to this employee. So I'll just add private double gross sales. So then private double uh, commission rate. Okay, so these are the attributes that are specific to this guy. So like we did for the other guys, we need to add the constructor, public commission employee. So here I'll just I need to paste. Okay, I'm trying to copy these guys in here. So I'll just add string first name, string last name, then this also a string. Okay, so then I'll add these two guys, double gross sales, double commission rates. Okay, so here the first is a call to the constructor of the super class, super first name, last name, and social constructor, and social security number, and then the call to this particular guy. So this the gross sales report, gross sales. This the gross sales, sorry, commission rate now. equals commission rate. So we are done with this guy's constructor. Now the next thing I would want to do is the setter and getter methods for these two instance variables. So I'll just generate that command n, getter and setter, select the two guys and then click OK. So you can see the getter and setter methods here, and I think we are cool. So yes, so the next thing we need to do here is to calculate the earnings of a commission employee. Okay, so the earnings of the commission employee is just going to be we return the get gross sales times get commission rate. So you multiply is the commission rate by the gross sales, and then you have his own earnings. So take note again, we have one abstract method, and then so far three uh, we have three um, we have three implementations for that abstract method. So one more thing I'll just add there is the toString method. Okay, toString. Okay. So after generating it, I'll just change this one to get gross sales. I'll change this to get commission rate. Okay. So one more thing I'll just add here is the employee info, like I've been doing for the other guys, which will be this. I'll just get no, I'll make a call to this, and I'll concatenate this guy. So yes, I think we are done with the toString method for this. Okay. So yeah, I think yeah, we are done with this particular class as well. So the next thing we need to do based on this diagram we've been following is to add this particular class, which is an indirect subclass of this superclass. Okay, while it is a direct subclass of this. So let's see how we would do that. So we'll do base plus commission employee. So this guy is basically like you must have guessed as well. It's going to extend the commission employee. Okay, and since the commission employee by default, since this commission employee also extends the employee class, so there's no need to worry about that. So here I'll just create a constructor. Okay, so here I've created a constructor that matches that super. Okay, so then the next thing I'll just do here is I'll just add, okay, so I've created this constructor. Then this particular guy is going to contain just one guy. So private double uh base salary. Okay, so having done this here, I'll just say, so I'll add that base salary as well, double base salary. So the base plus commission employee is an employee that has a base salary, and then he also has a commission based on the sales he makes as well. So here I'll just add this as well. This dot base salary equals base salary. Okay. So I think we are done with the constructor, and the next thing is the getter and setter methods for the base salary. Okay. Then yeah, okay. So this is, so here we need to also override the earnings method. Okay, so I'll just do Control N. Okay, to also uh, override the earnings method. Okay, so here we have return super dot earnings. So yeah, so this particular guy's earnings is basically his base salary, right? Plus is a commission earning. Okay, so and already we have a method that gives us the earnings for the commission employee, right? So I will just access this earnings method from the commission employee. Okay, and then I will add, since this guy is gross sales times this guy, right? I'll just add it up to his base salary here. So yeah, I'm going to return his base salary, okay, plus super dot earnings. Okay, so the direct super class of this class contains an earnings method, and this is the earnings method here, right? Which just multiplies his gross sales by his commission employee, by his commission rate rather. Okay, so as we have said, this guy is a base plus what commission employee, so he has his base salary, right? Which is this. We are only adding it to his what? His commission earnings. So and then this is the commission earnings here. So I hope that makes sense. So a call to super.earnings, which is this particular method here, would actually solve that for us. So you can see how inheritance actually saves us a lot of code, a lot of stuff that we would have had to hard code, write all over again. So the next thing I will just add there is a toString method. Okay, so toString method for this, and then so the other thing I will just do here is plus employee info. Okay, so here I will just call super dot toString and concatenate it. So here I will change this to get base salary. Okay, so if you look at it carefully, you would realize that we have done basically everything that is inside this class. Okay, so you see that we have done everything that is inside this particular diagram. Okay, so I would so if we can just go over all of this code once again. This is our abstract class. It contains all the common functionality that are shared across all of these four guys. Okay, so since I'm inheriting them, I don't need to go and be creating these instance variables across all the classes again. And then I have this constructor, which has serves as my super class constructor. So once I create this constructor, I don't need to recreate it in all other classes. I only need to access them using the super keyword here. Okay, and I can create my objects, and then you have my getter and then setter methods here. Okay, and then you also have the toString method, and then you have the earnings method, okay, which has four implementations across all of these four different guys. So this is basically the idea behind abstraction. So you expose a functionality, so while you are actually hiding the implementation inside the concrete classes. So that's the idea behind abstraction. So also another thing we have made use of is polymorphism. So polymorphism is when one method has several implementations. Okay, so this is one method, then it has four different implementations across all of these guys. Okay, so it has four different implementations. So and also we've also taken a look at method overriding as well. So when you override the methods bear the same name, they have the same method signature, but then they have several different what implementations. Okay, so method overriding is the opposite of method overloading. So in the case of method overloading, which I've also created a video for, in the case of you have several methods with the same name or different method signatures or different types of parameters and so on like that. So yeah, so this brings us to the end of the design, the object-oriented design. So how about if we decide to test this what we have done here? So I'll just create an employee test class. Okay, this class here is going to contain a main method where I'm going to actually test all of this code from. So what I will just do is let's create an object out of what? Salaried employee. Take note that, like I mentioned, you cannot create an object of the concrete of the abstract class. So if you try to do that, employee equals new employee. So you see here that it gives us an error. Okay. So here what I'll just do is remove this guy, and then I would now call the concrete method salaried employee. Let's say first employee equals new salaried employee. Okay, so this is actually going to be, so the number and the type of parameters you pass will also ensure that this guy belongs is actually a salaried employee. So let's try the first guy. Let's try Lionel Messi. Okay, Lionel. Second parameter, the second argument is Messi. Social security number. Let's give him number 10. Then it's weekly salary, which is a double. Let's say 250,000. Okay, so like that we are able to create this employee. Okay, so you notice that in the salaried employee, right, we are, despite the fact that we are only having this instance variable here, so we are still able to create our complete object with the complete what, with the complete list of parameters here. That's thanks to the fact that we're able to call the constructor of the superclass employee class. So let's go back to the employee test. Okay, then I'll create another object, and then I'll call this guy the hourly employee. So this will be my second employee because new hourly employee. So let's call this guy Cristiano, call him a certain Ronaldo. Social security number, let's call him 007. Okay, and the next point would be, I think it's weekly salary. If okay, hourly employee. So let me just check that to be sure. Okay, it's wage and then the hours. So let's say he earns like 120,000 and then he works 10 hours. Okay, so we have this, and then one more point. Okay, let me add another employee, this time a commission employee. I'll call him the third employee. Okay, because new commission employee. So I could call this Diego. I'll call him Maradona. Okay, this guy also wore the number 10 shirts. Okay, so the commission, so basically I think this would take the gross sales. Let me look at the order. So gross sales and then the commission rates. So let's say it sold 10 items. Let's say it sold 5,000, and then at the rate of, let's say, 0.3. Okay, so we created another object. So then I want to create the base plus commission employee. So I just call base plus commission employee. I'll call him my fourth employee equals new base plus commission employee. So here, let me call this guy Pele. His other name is Nascimento. Social security number, I think he wore the number 9 shirts. And then his gross sales, let's say he sold 72,000. And his commission rate, let's say at 0.5. And then a base salary of 20,000, example. Okay, good. So you see here that despite the fact that we are just completing the incomplete abstract class, so we are able to create our objects without any issues. Okay, so here, so let's say I want to actually print out each of their headings, right? Okay, so let's say So here, just say earnings. Earnings is going to be percentage point 2f, a placeholder, hash n. Okay, and then I'll just do, yeah. So the other thing I would want to do is I want to do percentage s, a string. So here I want to call first employee dot earnings. Okay, and then I want to also call first employee dot just first employee. So this would access the toString method, right? And then it will give me the details of that employee. So let me run this guy and then let's see how it works. Okay, so you see that it gives us the earnings of this guy, who is just a salaried employee, right? Which is 2250,000, right? Gives us this guy here. Okay, so you can see the weekly salary coming out here, and then it gives us his personal info here. Okay, it gives us all of this. Okay, so suppose uh, I do the same for second employee. Yeah, I'll just for second employee. So let me run this guy. Let's see how it works. Okay, so you have his earnings is 120,000. Okay. Okay, so he has a basic wage of 12,000 and then hours of 10,000. So you can see that it does that calculation. So, okay, so it gives us the correct. So you can see that it's able to undo, it's basically able to undo the correct implementation of the earnings. Okay, then you could do the same for third employee and then the fourth employee. So I'll call this third employee dot earnings. I'll just call third employee here. Okay, so once I run this guy now, yeah, okay, so it gives me his earnings as well. Okay, so and so on like that. You can also handle the case of a fourth employee. So far, so good. We've been able to explore polymorphism, we've been able to explore abstraction, we've been able to explore encapsulation, we've been able to also explore method overriding. Okay, so I would put a stop at this point, and then in the next tutorial to come after this, I would be making a recording on making use of interfaces. So it's basically going to be the same example, but I'm just going to use an interface to make it better, to make our code more extensible, and yeah, just to make the code, just to see that we have another option of implementing our polymorphism or implementing our abstraction. So I hope that we've gained one of two things from this recording. If there are any questions, feel free to engage me in the comment section, and I would ensure that I respond. I will ensure that I respond in time and adequately as well. So thanks for following, and then see you in the next recording.